10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Had a neighbor take a yell at me for lighting off fireworks
In the street.
I guess it's been a while anyway. Maybe I'm too slow to forgive the people that are rude to me.
What?
I'm awake sometimes thinking how, what if things were different than now?
Good morning,
I had a second chance.
afternoon, or evening.
What would a different me want to sing? Within my head we're just neighbors, no special favors. Overthink the thing until my head hurts.
I'm Idiot Burns.
We are judged by how we treat each other, and what if one kindness leads to another, and my stomach hurts from all the stress.
You're listening to Jeremy Abbott at Jeremy Abbott Music.
We would help one another up regardless. At the end of the road, they're tending to the crops. Turn a hippie to a businessman with legalized pot. And Connie's got a little dog, she takes him for a walk, taking in the sunset on the old island block. And Ken's got blackberries pulling down the gutters. Never seen them mow as long like a bunch of others. They're rolling off the island.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that lawn.
Too much, maybe that's why we get along. Within my head, we're just neighbors, no special favors. Overthink the thing until my head hurts. What if we are judged?
Why do I want to play the drums on this?
What if one kindness leads to another, and my stomach hurts from all the stress? Remember how it felt when we knew a little less? We would help one another up regardless. We would help one another up regardless.
Today is Idiot Blog 460, and we're going to have a little chat with Jeremy Abbott. First, I want to listen to this song, Neighbors, with you guys. Then as the other tracks play, we'll get them on. We'll get them on the line, and we'll have a little chat.
And everyone's glowing just a little bit, and I can see beyond the end. Within my head we're just neighbors, no special favors. Overthink the thing until my head hurts.
The vocals are getting sucked down right there by the volume of the bass in the mix, it seems.
Remember how we felt when we knew a little less? We would help one another up regardless. We would help one another up
Regardless. Right? 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 Sweet. Seems that we are broadcasting on simulcast, and it is working. Let me double check on Facebook before I call it working. Looks like we're there. Simulcast, and it is working. Sorry. There we go. It is working. Good to go. I'm gonna take my jacket off. A little hot in the house today, but I'm kind of barbecuing while I'm doing this, but I'm actually smoking, so stuff can go slow and low, no big deal. Got a sneeze coming on, then we'll give him a call. Ooh. See if I can fight it off. Ooh, there we go. This one is called Fire in My Mind. Fire in My Mind by Jeremy Abbott. It says it's featuring 2 others. Dale Pearson and Kevin Lee. 2. Dale. Sweet. Sweet. Let's give Jeremy a call. Get the chat going. Take the music down just a little touch here. Well, there we go. Let's give him a call.
Oh, wait.
Hello.
You hear me okay?
Yeah, no video chat because I don't have a way to do video. Not yet.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry to disappoint.
Got my chimenea burning, and I got a little chair by my chimenea because I'm a Northwesterner. You're a Northwesterner. Got to have a chat by my outdoor chimenea while you're smoking your pork. That's Northwest.
Man. Yeah,
I know.
I'm
Only
back.
a Northwesterner would do this kind of stuff in the rain.
I know, right. Down in Texas, it's all sunny every day, so they're good. They have a rain, and they're like, "Oh, everybody inside for the day."
Yeah, like when my kids would play soccer and stuff, it'd be cloudy or the forecast might be for rain leading up to it. But, if you're from the Northwest, there's different kinds of rain.
Yeah.
There's rain that don't really qualify as rain.
Right.
That misty stuff, everybody's getting wet and it's misting real hard. But if you ask somebody if it was raining, they'd say, no, game's on. Soccer game, it's not raining.
Right. Your clothes are drenched, but there isn't a river from one puddle to the next. It's not really raining.
That's not rain.
Yeah. It has to be.
Wait, so you're smoking some pork today?
I'm smoking some pork. I'm smoking these pork shoulder.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that good lunch, or how long you smoke that for?
Yeah, it's gonna be lunch. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it won't be too long. Just get some nice smoke flavor in there, and then I'll take it and put a little sear on it, and then call it.
Whew.
I have a side smoker. It's like one large unit that's like 35 inches long, big barrel, and then on the side of it, attached to it, there's like a really small barbecue that you just put the wood and the coals in, and the wood and the coal smoke comes out of there, goes through the big one and out a pipe at the far end of it. So that's the process. It's called a side smoker. And at the very end, when I'm done with something, I can put grills in the small little side and sear everything for a couple minutes and give it that final sear. So.
Ooh, you're making me hungry.
Oh yeah, it works good for steaks. Even works good for chicken leg. You name it, works good for it.
It sounds like you're the guy that hosts the barbecues that I need to show up for.
Dude, I've just started. My dad was that guy, and he got me a smoker this Christmas, and I've been going at it. I've done ribs, salmon. I've done it all already. I've done it all. I did brisket just the other week. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a fun journey right there.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
All that meat though. So yeah. I mean, you're in what are you out? $100 every time you barbecue?
$50, more like 50, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I see on your profile pic you got kids, right? I got 3 kids I got 2 that are out of the house now.
Ooh.
And just 1 that's still in the house, but he's 16 and about a foot taller than me, and just freaking muscle. You know how we all were when we were 16. And
Yeah. If I could just get that back. What I'm doing now is I'm rolling layers of fat like I'm just painting my house over and over again. I'm just rolling layers of fat on the top of everything over and over and over.
Yeah, it's like I want to say, just wait till you start drinking beer, kids. But I
did stop drinking beer for a while, and I got pretty. I'll I won't say thinned out, but pretty much I got thinned out.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you pack on just from drinking beer. I know just cutting down to the weekends is probably 10 pounds of difference for me over the course of a few months, you know, versus, and COVID was so bad for just letting you do whatever you wanted. I think I went through all the phases in COVID. At first I was like laying around, you know, this sucks, and just eating everything and drinking every night and watching everything there was on Netflix, and then I felt remorseful that I was getting big, and I worked out. I actually achieved my tennis player version of myself. I shocked myself, but it was easy when you're at home and you're not getting all those outside influences. You're not driving by the Golden Arches. You're not driving by Burger King.
Well, that's where I was right before I started at Boeing. And Boeing had this thing, you know, where they basically stopped working at the Renton plant because of the groundings. And then COVID came and people couldn't even be down on the plane doing it slowly. They couldn't do anything. They were just going around cleaning stairs or sitting at a table. And I'm literally going to work for 8 hours a day just sitting there munching on food.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was not good. Not good.
I was thinking about this the other day. Philosophical question. All right, if we're just two guys drinking a beer around a bonfire, this might come up.
Yeah.
How much could you get paid to do nothing? And I mean, like, let's say it's like COVID. You're confined to your home. Not that you're retired and you can do whatever you want. You're getting paid to do nothing. How long?
Like for 8 hours a day, you go and you sit in a chair and you can this is literally Boeing. You've got to be wearing a mask, which is already just going to irritate you. And the only way you can't wear it is when you're eating. And otherwise, therefore, you eat the entire day. And secondly, you just sit there on your ass. You can't go walk outside because someone will ask you what the hell you're doing. You can't go down and walk around the plane because someone will ask you what the hell you're doing. So you literally just got to go find a corner and go sit. Well, I did that for 3 months straight, and I could tell you I probably could do it forever, but I just would need ever-increasing pay and things to do outside of work, because my amount of stuff I do outside of work is already a high amount, but I would be doing a lot more hiking, adventures, and stuff like that. I don't know if it would be 100% bad for me because I have that kind of propensity to do something, and I think a lot of us do, and that's probably the core of your question is how easy is it for you to turn that off for 8 hours a day? And it's difficult.
That's exactly what I'm asking.
It's difficult. I had to have that. I had to think to myself, there's a whole career I'd be giving up by stopping doing this. A whole career of things I would love to do. But if I knew the long haul of this career was going to be just more sitting there, I probably would have quit, you know? I probably would have just gone home and done something else.
Man, you know,
regardless.
I'm 45.
I'm 38, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough that I think, you know, you start getting a little bit introspective. You start looking back at the crossroads you came to at different points in your life. And when people ask, I tell them, I never had a lack of choices. I'll tell you that. I made some good ones and some bad ones, but I was always blessed that I had different things I could choose. I chose my way to where I'm at. There's no doubt about that, you know? And I fight that battle that you talk about right there all the time, where my day job competes with playing music sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? And fortunate that I can take time off pretty much whenever I want, but that comes with a cost. My dollar success for my day job is tied to how well I perform at my day job. So if I start lacking performance, that's going to cost me. And I don't make as much money doing music, but it's more fulfilling. And I'm reevaluating that. I'm stuck right there at them crossroads, and I keep reevaluating it for the last 5 years, man.
I kind of went about it different than a lot of people. You know what? I skipped a year after high school because I was like, it's not like I'm going to fucking Harvard or something like that, where I got to transition right into it. I can take a break and then go right back to it. So I took a year break. I went back to college, did a couple quarters, and I said to myself, you know what? I can go back to college at 25. What I'll do is I'll just do music from 18 to 25. I'll do 7 years, try my hardest. I played in bands in Seattle. I played in like 5 different bands at one time. Two as a drummer, 2 as a guitarist, 1 as a bassist, you know, playing in bands, playing shows, hundreds of shows on my you know, in my past, or however you want to say that, but tons of shows. And I eventually got to a point, I called it a little bit early, and I said, I gotta get back to school, because I would be out there, and there'd be guys, and they'd have really nice materials, and mine be homemade, and they'd have really nice materials promoting their stuff, and I'd talk to those guys after the show, or in between sets and stuff, and they'd be like, yeah, man, I work at Microsoft. I'm like, that's my fucking problem. I don't got a real job. I'm working at fucking Walgreens, or the Mini Mart, or the gas station, making pennies, and then trying to push that remainder of those pennies into my music, and it's doing me nothing. If I could go back in time, I would have just pushed the career and everything at the same time. You know?
Right.
You know, I had a girlfriend, she had a 7-year-old. She was getting a PhD. She was a manager at Safeway, and she had time to party. If she could do that, I can do that, you know? So I didn't have kids yet, so.
I did a similar thing. I came over into Seattle. I grew up over in Idaho, and I come over to Seattle to go to the Art Institute. I just wanted to go to a music school. I didn't really do a lot of research. My parents weren't into music at all, so I was kind of on my own to figuring out, well, what's the guy do if he wants to get into music? You know, and there was no Google like there was today. I couldn't YouTube it or nothing like that.
Yep.
I can't remember how I come to the Art Institute Seattle. I just knew it was the big city on the other side of the mountains. I think I'd only ever been there once at the time.
Yeah.
And that's where Alice in Chains was from, and Soundgarden. And at that time, you turn on MTV, and everything awesome was coming out of Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
Mid-90s?
Yeah.
Yep. I graduated in 93, and I moved over to Seattle in 94, and it was just the epicenter of what's going on. Right. It was a really great time. But like you know, you come over with all the dreams and I'm going to make it big, all the confidence in the world. And I worked in the music industry for a long time. I kept getting gigs doing other stuff, lighting actually. For some reason, I took a liking to the consoles that would operate the lighting boards. You know, I was always, as a kid, I was fascinated with like the Commodore 64s and Tandy TRS-80s and stuff like that.
Same. I had
consoles.
I had all those kinds of old computers in my collection in my day. I mean, I remember when I was 9 or 10 years old, or maybe 11 years old, I took apart a cable that goes to the wall and reversed the wires to each other and taped them together with that clear tape you use on Christmas presents, all the little leads. And I got on the internet through my school's intranet.
Yeah, you and me come from the same cloth, man. I tell you, that's my first distortion guitar. I took the stereo that I got for Christmas, and I took it apart and wired my guitar through the stereo and was able to overdrive the volume, and that created distortion. And I remember my mom was so upset at that.
Why would you do that?
I can't buy you anything, you know? You're always taking everything apart.
That's me, dude. Right there. Why you always take your toys apart?
I was learning how to play Hell's Bells from AC/DC. That intro.
Exactly.
And my family was pretty religious, and my dad just come marching in my room. That sounds like devil music you're playing, and I had to shut it all down. And it had to be a secret rocker. Like, I was a closet rocker.
My dad was pretty into Judas Priest. My dad's roommates were these rockers. The band Rail, and they won like a 1979 MTV Battle of the Bands. So they were showing up at the, summer backyard parties and stuff like that. So I always had a definite rock influence. My mom taught jazzercise, so that's every song that exists. They do jazzercise too.
Oh yeah. My mom was an aerobic teacher too. I remember all the pop music of the '80s and having those weights around your ankles. My mom, she would go down to the Lions Club, and other moms would show up there, and they'd have like a 1-hour session. If nobody was there to watch us, we'd be towed off, with them. And there was a park next door playing, but you'd see all the moms packing in there with their headbands and their spandex and their ankle weight.
Exactly.
Oh man, the '80s and '90s. I think that I look back at that time and, like you said, well, what's the reason my stuff doesn't sound like their stuff, or what's the reason I'm not getting traction and this other guy's getting traction? And I didn't have the savvy that I have now. It's funny how life works out. I get involved with the business I work my day job for now. And it's really opened my eyes to the business side of things.
Right.
Operations,
Right.
And what a difference it makes. It's really amazing. Just being consistent with your music, having something for people to buy when you're playing live.
Right.
Being an entertainer.
Right.
I'm constantly telling people, hey man, if you feel uber talented, and you're looking at that guy and you're like, man, he's got less talent, but yet he's more successful. It's probably because he's got the business chops that you don't
Dude,
have.
I had all the business savvy. I remember I used to be able to walk around in downtown Seattle, and I would, every once in a while, I would see somebody wearing one of my old band's t-shirts, Idiot Arsenal t-shirt. I'll be like, dude, what's up? I had all the business stuff down, but the music, I was trying. I wanted my music to not be pop. I wanted my music to not appeal. That was the conundrum of it. Is I wanted to be successful, but I wanted to be successful with music that had no appeal. That was just exactly what I wanted to make. I don't care what's good, what's bad. I don't care if you don't want to hear about a bunny getting shit on or whatever the fuck it is that I would write about. You don't want to hear about clocks exploding or whatever the hell I wrote about. I didn't care. I just thought I'll get famous doing what I do. It doesn't matter. It's gonna work. I had like this blind. I don't know how. I just describe it as a young person's point of view.
That's the teenage angst, right?
Yeah,
there.
It's not even angst though. It's like this, because it's like this thing where it's like a filter. It's like a filter that's also full of caffeine. It's like this. You have all this energy in the world. You have all these ideas, all these thoughts. Your perspective isn't. I wouldn't say that your perspective is wrong, but I would say that it's not developed. It's not developed. You're not sitting there really thinking about these things. You're actually just hearing things, getting emotional and upset and latching and thinking these things that over time you develop. But at first you're young. I don't know. I don't have the same ideals as I did when I was young. I'm sure there's people out there who still have the same ideals as they did when they're young, so they don't exactly identify with this. But it's just,
no, you gotta grow. For sure.
I wasn't really there until I was 27, and I started thinking to myself, it would be nice to have some kids. It would be nice to, these things would be nice. I'm missing out, and yeah, I mean. I would go to, what I would do is I would go to the Seattle Supersonics games, and I would hand out these 1-inch flyers that had our website on it. And the website would go down because so many people would visit.
Nice.
And it would say when the most upcoming show is, usually that night or the next night, somewhere in Seattle, And that would, underground promo, that was my thing. It was all about that.
Yeah.
I listened to your track Neighbors. That was the first one I listened to.
Right.
And that one's cool because it talks about, I wouldn't say it's uniquely Seattle, because it's definitely everywhere, but the level of it that makes you want to write a song about it is pretty uniquely Seattle. The Seattle, what do they call that?
Perspective, I don't know.
What do they call that when people don't make eye contact in Seattle? What's that called?
I don't know. I hadn't heard of that. The Seattle Ice?
Seattle Ice, basically. Seattle Stare, I guess it is. I don't know what it is. Where they basically just don't even... There's a different level of interaction. You move from Seattle to Kirkland in a day, and you go, whoa, what? My neighbor wants to get to know who I am. Or Seattle to Mount Lake Terrace or Tacoma. And you're like, what? My neighbor wants to get to know me? What's this all about? I don't know. I got a lot of that. It's the cold shoulder.
That song for me, obviously musically it was a layup. I think I had just downloaded Propeller Reason, DAW, and it comes with a killer suite of software. And I had been doing some reading that it's the #1 utilized sound library for reggae, which I've been playing around with a lot, and so I was screwing around with some just melodic descents and stuff, and musically that thing is like nothing, but it's kind of earwormy, and that thing has been sitting in my half-baked music pile for probably 5 or 6 months, and I had the concept about writing a song about my neighbors for probably the same. I didn't marry that piece of music to the lyrical intent for quite a while. I kept trying to drive that set of lyrics into an acoustic piece. I tried it out a couple different times, and I don't know what it was. Just one afternoon, I hadn't published anything in about a month on BandLab there.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, man, I got to crank something out. And I revisited that, layered those lyrics onto that melody, and then did some tweaking and stuff, and there it was. But I had meditated on, you're exactly right, I'd meditated on that idea about the neighbors and what, I have weird relationships with my neighbor,
Yeah.
And every single one of those lyrics is true. I still hate my neighbor across the street. I mean,
the one with the blackberries growing up into his
pulling down his gutters.
Pulling his gutters down, yeah.
Dude, you should see my downhill neighbor, that's Ken. He works at Boeing. Yeah. And I remember one time a different neighbor come over and says, we should check on Ken. His lawn's getting kind of out of control. I think he just doesn't like to do yard work. And it's okay, it's fine. It doesn't bother me, really, that blackberries are so tall. But it is literally a sea of blackberry down there. I cannot, they're crawling up over the top of his house these days. But he works graveyard shift out at Boeing, and I just see his car disappear out of the hole of blackberries at midnight and come back at like 7 or 8 in the morning.
That's awesome.
And then, but that opening line, my neighbor across the street, I remember we had done something one year on the 4th of July away from the house, and whatever we had done, we still had our fireworks. We didn't set them off. I can't remember why, but so we come back, and it's actually July 5th, and the fire station website. Fire station website says it's still okay to shoot your fireworks off until noon. Great, we got to get rid of these things or they're going to go bad. My kids are like 7 and 8. We go down in the middle of the street and we're setting off the mortars. Boom! I love fireworks, But my neighbor, he come out on his porch yelling, "What the fuck are you doing lighting off fireworks?" And just scared the shit out of my kids. Started crying and running up into the house.
Oh, man.
And I told him, man, I checked the site, it's fine. And he was like, no, stop that, knock that shit off. So, whatever, I'm not going to keep doing it. I did. I cleaned up and marched up to my house, and we ain't talked in about 10 years since then.
Oh,
and every
man.
time I see him out there, I think, you're just an asshole, dude.
You know what, you got to get like a sticker for your car that says, "My neighbor loves fireworks." That'll really piss him off every time he drives by your parking spot. What the fuck's he got that sticker for? I don't know. I try to be sarcastic about it. I'd probably try and bring him cupcakes and force the love down his throat. Bring him cupcakes. I'd say sorry about the fireworks. I know it was 10 years ago.
Well, I feel bad. So his wife died last year, and we just heard this through word of mouth.
Oh, that's too bad.
So that gets me meditating on stuff. Man, why do for all the people here to at minimum be cordial, I suppose. And
Yeah. I've been
that's
pretty
the root of that song.
I've been pretty lucky as a social person to be pretty good with my neighbors, but I got these neighbors, they're like this is who I thought of when I was hearing the song. They're like 20 years old, living with their parents, and their grass isn't grass anymore. It's all mud because they park their cars on the lawn, and all day long they have like the rice rockets with the wheels that on the back that point in like a triangle because they're so lowered and they're done wrong. And being that my uncle invented lowrider equipment and he does lowriders right up in Bellingham, and that's like what he has, like 13 cars that are lowriders. I've seen plenty of lowriders that are done right. My dad does car shows. I've seen it all, right? And those are wrong. When the wheels point in towards each other in a triangle shape, you have lowered your car by just cutting shit off. That's not going to feel good on your ass when you're driving around. But the main problem is they're always working on their cars, and they're going. It's like for some reason they think the only way you can fix a car is to change something and then go, wah! Wah! So you can hear it from like 5 blocks away. You can hear it.
Yeah.
Wah! Wah! Oh, I think it isn't working right. Let's give it 3 more turns and then let's do some more extreme gassing. Can we just get somebody to go in there and just keep stepping on the pedal every 10 minutes, okay? Basically what it's like, there's like some kind of a 10-minute alarm system just down the street, just around the corner, of people revving their cars to the maximum volume. No exhaust on their car, just straight pipe.
You gotta bring them over some barbecue and say, hey man, let me give you a pointer.
Yeah. How did Chris get shot? Well, he tried to bring that one neighbor barbecue.
Don't talk about that. We just had a shooting up on the island recently. It doesn't happen very. It was getting kind of stormy out here. Started raining. I was grabbing my chair off the deck.
Where are you at in Seattle?
No, I'm up on Camano Island.
Oh, you're on Camano Island.
Yeah.
Very cool. I got a high school friend who's up there. He's got a nice spot. He's got a hot tub on the deck. Kind of jealous.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet up here, mostly. You know, and I moved up here to get a little elbow room and raise the kids.
Heck yeah.
Where it was a little harder for them to get into trouble, and that's how I was raised. We were raised out in Booney. It was pretty hard to get to town to find trouble in the first place.
Right. I was raised in 2 different areas. In the school year, I was raised in Kirkland. So all year long, I'm waiting for the summer to come so I can play with all my friends. And the summer comes, and my parents go to Chelan for the summer. So at all of my friends, I don't get to hang out with them. I have no idea what they're doing, all the fun activities and all the crazy stuff they're getting into, and I'm just sitting hanging out at a house or a beach.
Well, they probably think it's a dream. That's a pretty common to have a cabin over in Chelan.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty awesome. In retrospect, I'm like, yeah, I had it pretty damn good. I had it really good. My parents still have the house. Recently just flooded. They added on to it about 5-6 years ago. A couple more bedrooms so that me and my brother could come with our kids and have plenty of room. They added to it, and they're building another little place so that they can get away from us. My parents are all about Chelan, right? And they can retire up to this other place and have this great view, and there's still a vacation house for us to go to. Crazy, right? My parents are just on a different level with that Chelan addiction. But it's only like 3 blocks away, so we could still go over to hang out with them. They could still hang out there and like kind of disappear at night and go to bed, right? So they're doing like this 2 houses in Chelan thing. One's a vacation house, one's the regular house. Almost doesn't make sense, but yeah, they were gone for 2 weeks and the place flooded. It's very sad, but luckily it only affected the add-on, and it's all covered in insurance and stuff like that. So it's just going to be a whole year without half of the house. So
I'm surprised at Chelan at night. So every once in a while I gig over there
Yeah.
at either, what do you call it, the resort, the
Campbell's,
or a cider house or something. And the cider house is right next to Senior Froggy.
Yep.
And I remember the first time I loaded all my speakers into the cider house and stuff, the guy, it was at the end of the night, I was loading out my speakers. The guy goes, "You can take your truck around to the alley and load out that way."
And it's full of people.
Oh, God. It was not just, I mean, yeah, full of people, but people wanting to fight.
Fight?
Yeah, people are spilling out of Senior Froggies because they got kicked out.
People fighting, fucking, and drinking right in the back, right there at the park.
I'm just trying to get my speakers out of there, just howling and stuff. I was like, Jesus Christ, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, it is active. You know, we used to sneak down there as, you know, teenagers, sleep on the deck, wait till the parents fell asleep, climb around off the deck, walk all the way downtown, see what's going on downtown. You know, a lot of fun down there. But yeah, I was raised with two different types of worlds. You know, when it came to that time in the year where you were free to go do whatever and go explore, I was no longer in my native setting. I was in the Chelan setting, which, you know, did become a native setting for me, but it was like I wasn't allowed to, like, you know, experiment with the crazy things that you do as a teenager. You know, over here on the west side, until maybe I was, you know, 17, 18. I had my own job. The summer came, and then I would only go for a few weekends and stay the rest of the time. And that's when I started to experience what everyone else was experiencing in the summer. You know, the craziness of a busy town in the summer.
Well, and that's a bummer. You know, I get it. You're in Kirkland, you're with your friends, and then your friends are like, "What are you doing this summer?"
Gone. I'm gone in Chelan. Yeah, what are you going to do? Oh, we got this. What did you come back? What did you end up doing? We did this. I didn't even know those things existed here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was different kind of growth, different experience. You know, we had these two friends who lived in the house behind us. One of them was a year younger than me, one of them was a year younger than my brother, and it's just me and my brother. So it was like there was four brothers all of a sudden. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. We became really close with them, and I'm still close with them. But basically the only person that listens to every one of my songs and comments on every one of my songs with a comment that says, "I listened to your song," with a detail, that is my old friend and or brother, you could call him, from Chelan. So he keeps me going, you know. He's always been somebody in my corner. So
nice. Yeah, BandLab's a weird thing in itself. I just always used Cakewalk. For some reason, I can't remember why I got into Cakewalk. My younger brother always used Pro Tools. We always would have these arguments back in the 90s, which one was better. Gibson owns Cakewalk at that time. And, you know, DAWs, you can talk DAWs forever, and people can have strong opinions about which one's better, but really, they're all about the same.
Yep.
It's just a matter of how adept you are, the hands, turning the knobs and all that stuff.
Yeah. It has to do with, like, what clicks with how you know, like, it's kind of like, think about it like different people, different mindsets, and different things are easier. One guy can juggle, the other guy can hacky sack. How is it very different? I don't know. It's almost the same thing, but it's not. And for one guy, the hacky sack guy, one DAW works, and for the juggling guy, the other DAW works. Like, I don't know. That's an analogy or whatever, but it's just whichever one's easier for you to figure out is going to help you make the music quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know, and then Gibson, they struggled, about 3 years ago. They were spending too much money on the wood on their guitars, or not spending enough money. I read some articles. I can't remember exactly what
I'll tell you what they did, is they put electronic tuners on their guitars, and every guitarist was like,
So you're not a Gibson fan, or
I
at least
like
they were
Gibson.
winning you over with
I
those
like
models.
Gibson. I can identify exactly what they did wrong, and that was putting electronic tuners on their guitars.
Yeah.
Just
Well, so then they started selling off assets, and they sold Cakewalk. And I panicked. I was like, fuck, am I going to have to learn Pro Tools? And like once every other year or so, I'll download other DAWs and screw around with them just to see what's new. And there's also flaws. Like Ableton, if you download the Ableton trial, you can export the library. And then just download the library of sounds, all their sub hits and all that kind of stuff, and then remap it out onto your MIDI keyboard. And then you have the Ableton library, if that's why you were getting Ableton anyway. But anyway, I'm panicking, thinking I'm going to have to learn Pro Tools, and I got so many projects in Cakewalk, and how am I going to move them over, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I Googled, and I had read that some little company called BandLab had bought Cakewalk.
Right.
And so I log into BandLab to figure out, well, who are these cats? And are they going to sincerely maintain Cakewalk? And so far they have.
Yep.
I've probably got several hundred projects in the Cakewalk format. Not compatible with Pro Tools.
I probably got serious about recording. I mean, I started doing the recording thing in like '99. I got like an interface that was one of those ones that goes in the slot in your computer. You got to open up the computer. You got to put the slot in, screw the screw so it doesn't come off, and then you can plug a cable that goes to it. I got one of those. It's an Echo Layla in like '99, working it with my Windows 98, and I got a MIDI Paint program. Basically, every DAW has it now, but back then, most DAWs didn't come with MIDI Paint capabilities. Where you could just paint the MIDIs. Set the intensity, set the duration of every note by drawing it out, MIDI drawing. And so I got into MIDI drawing, 17 through 19. I was spending a lot of time doing that. And I had, I would try different free DAWs. And free DAW after free DAW, Cool Edit Pro, you name it. I came across, and Cubase and other things, I came across somebody who was using GarageBand, and I was like, this is just too easy. This is just for a dumb person like me. This is just so simple. I'm not saying I'm dumb. I'm definitely good at figuring out programs, but it's just this. I was like, this is
no. I know what you mean. Apple products are made to use.
Intuitive. It's so intuitive. I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I can just plug my stuff in and go. I'm not going to be struggling to make this mixer work with the program. It's just going to work. I'm going to plug it in. It's going to work. I don't need to find drivers, so I got a Windows. I had a Windows machine. I was still using it here and there, but I started converting over to Mac. I had to figure it all out, but I got a G5, and that's when I started on that road. And right as I did, somebody gave me a copy of Digital Performer, which is a Mark of the Unicorn, kind of like a high-end recording DAW. And they gave it to me because they bought it and they couldn't figure it out, and they went back to GarageBand. And so I was like, shit, I'm going to make it a task. I'm going to figure this thing out. This is the most convoluted, so I'll sit there and I'll do that. And I eventually did figure it out. I recorded a bunch of excellent material on it. And when my computer finally did go out, I didn't have the copy of the software anymore. Somehow got lost in a move. And so I am a victim of exactly what you were fearing you would be a victim of. I'd have no ability to bring all those songs back. No way at all. I can't even find a copy of the Digital Performer I had on eBay or anything, as I have a new system now that would install it, but I can't even find a copy of the software. So all that old music I'm kept away from. It's kind of bittersweet. Gives me a reason to remake the music. Gives me a reason to reinvent that same music. But at the same time, as I would just love to listen to the tunes that I made with my old buddies,
Yeah, no kidding. That's exactly what I feared. Wow. Now I'm gonna... Oh, do you want me to move the truck? Okay. Nope. Oh, wife's going for some breakfast with some friends, and my truck's in her way.
All right.
I thought it was weird. She was even up. She normally doesn't get up till 1, and I can say that because she's currently outside the house. If I said that while she was right there in front of me, that would have not gone well. I hear man, so now you've got these recordings that are like locked in a time capsule in some kind of format you can't unlock.
Yeah, that's one.
From everything I'm hearing from you, you're a super smart guy. I'm sure you've probably gotten desperate and even shot an email to the company.
I have.
Do you have a translator?
And they asked me what version of Mac OS I was using, and I told them, and then they haven't replied back after that.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, that guy's fine.
They're like, that guy's back 12 years ago. He's using software from 12, 13 years ago. I'm like, so what? Can you help me?
Yeah. Man, I can't believe DAWs these days. I was just listening to BandLab yesterday, and this guy, that shit. Constantly produced.
John.
Yeah, he produced. Yep, John.
Yep.
Over there in New York, he actually sells weed stock for his day job in a trade house. But anyway,
I won't tell you all my connections with him, but let's just say he somehow smoked some of that stuff from Washington. Wonder how.
Oh, good. Good. Oh, we're on the brink of we're on the brink of federal legalization, I think. I don't know if that's something the Biden administration.
Dude, if Biden did that, I'm not a big fan of Biden. I'm not a big fan of any politician, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't mind somebody that ruffles feathers, so I didn't mind Trump. But I hated Bush. I hated Obama. I didn't love Trump. And I probably will end up hating Biden. But that being said, if they legalize it federally, I'll just keep a place in my heart for that person. I'll put a little picture of their face on their chintzy little fuck politician face on my wall that says thank you right below it. Because, working at Bowen and being a guy who likes to smoke pot, I would love to be able to smoke pot and be able to go to work and not worry about anything, Yeah,
I mean, come on. Of all the drugs, really?
A little short story about me is, I was smoking pot. I used to grow pot. I used to grow in the medical days. I used to sell to a place in downtown Seattle for $18 to $20 per gram, and they would sell it for $20 to $25 per gram. And I could grow some amazing stuff with CBDs in the 20% range, THC in the 30% range, right? I could grow some amazing stuff.
So 20 to 25 per gram. I haven't smoked this in college or whatever, but I'm not, being from the Northwest, I know guys like you that start spitting their strains and all that kind of stuff. I'm not that savvy. I just like the flower. But
I would grow this. I would grow potent stuff, right? I would grow potent stuff. That's just all I'm saying.
Yeah, an eighth is 3.5, should be anyway. Right?
Yeah.
2 fingers, whatever.
It's 4 from me.
At $20 a gram, you're saying that's your 40 bag is $80.
Yep. To 100.
Wow.
80 to 100 for a 40.
People are willing to pay that.
People are willing to pay that because it was that good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. There was a lady that would come up from basically a little south of where I am now. She'd come from Graham all the way up to north of Seattle where I was at. She was paralyzed. So someone would drive her. They would put the wheelchair in the back of the car, out of the back of the truck. They'd pull it out. They'd come into my house, and they'd basically hand pick an ounce from what I have that I just finished growing and take it back down with them. Because
I would drive from Graham if you're going to let me pick through your stuff.
And the reason why she did it is because she had not found something that would totally stop her tremors from her. She got paralyzed in a car accident, and she had these tremors where basically she would like almost like seizures, where she would lose all control. And if she was out on her own in a day, just strolling around with her wheelchair by hand, and she's going down a hill and starts having one of those tremors, she's going to get severely injured. She would smoke my stuff and wouldn't have tremors for weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's all those really good medical reasons, but then I don't have any medical reasons. I'm just recreational. I think most people are. Come on, be honest.
Wait. You ever have heartburn?
Oh, yeah.
That's a medical reason right there, bro.
Yeah. No, my medical reason is I just needed to survive life.
But
all those medical arguments are really good and strong arguments. But I wonder if you could, if somebody somehow could measure how much weed goes for the medical industry versus how much just goes for recreation.
It's 2% medical.
Recreation.
Yeah, it's 2% medical. It's all supported by the other 98% that just smoke to have smoke coming out their ears,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, I don't want to hide behind a medical argument, although they're legitimate, and I don't argue against them, and there are good reasons.
Right.
There's still, come on, it should be legal just for recreational purposes.
Well, let me tell you my little story. I was smoking for forever. I've been smoking, I don't know, 16 years. Right, I was like 23 maybe when I started. So yeah, about 15 years I've been smoking, and I had a clean enough piss test to get hired at Boeing. Don't have to go into how that happened, but it happened, right? It worked, and I got hired at Boeing, and I'm working there, and they ended up putting me into the Seattle Delivery Center, which is where the planes go right to the customers right after they're finished. So I'm there doing the last details on the planes, and then the grounding happens. And when the grounding happened, they were going to have this wire replaced. So on the very, very first plane, I'm working on the very, very first plane the FAA's fix that they've requested for the 737s that are grounded. And I figured out a way to take it from a 5-day repair to a 3.5-day repair by instead of taking out equipment and removing a bunch of tape on this bundle, I said, why don't we just punch a hole in the back of this giant zip tie, put the wire through that, tape it into the zip tie, lubricate the zip tie, don't take that tape off, and shove it through that 3-foot section, pull it out the other end. Don't take out any of those parts. Don't have to retest those parts. We can do it much quicker. We can shave the time down a whole 30%, right? And I ended up teaching that technique to the guys in London, the guys in Ireland, the guys in France, and the guys in Germany, and the guys in Australia. They all came out. And then they moved me over to Moses Lake. Now, the first week I'm at Moses Lake is really crowded. It had like 250 planes in an area that probably fits 200 planes. So they're all squeezed up. And I didn't bump a plane. I bumped an empty fuel container. And they popped me for a quiz. I didn't break anything. I didn't bust anything. I just scooted an item. But someone saw it and they said, we might as well just test you so you can go back to work. And I failed the test. Now it's been over 6 months and I'm still popping dirty.
Huh.
Over 6 months. I haven't smoked for over 6 months and I'm still testing dirty. So that's why I want federal legalization, because there's no fair way to evaluate if someone's high. Because if I got in a car accident right now, serious car accident, just driving, going to get some more meat for the smoker, and I get smashed into, and they think, let's test the guy, and they'll be like, oh, it was his fault. He had over 5 nanograms per milliliter in his blood. He was high. Dude, I haven't smoked in 6 months. But I'm still testing. I'm still testing on a level where they would make me accountable. I haven't been high for 6 months. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the way they evaluate that drug isn't really accurate. You know, like you smoke crack, right, on the weekends, and then you don't smoke all week long, and you bump into something on Thursday or Friday at Boeing, and they test you, and they're like, guy's clean, and then you go home and you smoke more crack, and you could be smoking crack and test clean a day or two later, and you could be a crackhead at work half the time, and you're fine. But you smoke pot, and that stuff stays in your system so long that if they ever test you, there you go, you're off, you're gone.
Man, I never heard a story like that. I obviously it's possible, but in the past, when I knew, when I was younger and I knew I had to take a test, I did the old, what most people do. You get like 2 gallons of water and you jog for like 8 hours. and then you're good.
I remember I was smoking gravities, smoking on the bong. It was Saturday night. It's 2 a.m. Next day, I wake up. I drank a couple gallons of water. I didn't smoke that day. I jogged 6 miles all the way down to the golf course and back. Monday morning, I woke up, took a test. I was clean. That's when I was young. That's when I was young and virile. Now, I'm old, and I'm stacking fat, and I'm painting fat on top of fat.
Well, evidently you're made out of weed now or something. Like when you die and they cremate you, the guy standing outside the cremate
gonna get smoke. Stoned.
No, so
that's funny because I was actually talking about that exact theory with that shit. That shit and I were joking just a few months back, that I'm so laced with weed that when they cremate me, the guy's gonna get stoned. He said that exact thing.
Yeah, I like John. We collaborated a bit quite a while ago. Not so much lately, just because I distanced myself because his production level, I can't keep up with him. He would literally send me like 6 things to work on. My life, 24 hours a day, just doing John stuff, and it still wouldn't be enough. And I just didn't have enough time for my own stuff. And he's always polite and courteous. I put it on myself that I was like, I got that shit project I need to get through, you know? And so I kind of started cutting ties with him just a little bit. I still like him and everything, but we don't collaborate as much anymore for that reason.
Dude, I like collaborating with him. We did these things where we did these beats where he does the beat and then I add an instrument to it, like I add a guitar or add a bass, right? Like he leaves a part out and I add to it. And then he goes and he finds a bunch of people saying, that shit's crazy or whatever, or from movies, right? And a bunch of people saying, you idiot, in movies. And cuts them and makes them into these, like, he made these like 5 tracks where it's like lines from movies of people saying that shit or idiot over the top of beats that we made together. And that was our most extensive collaboration we did, right? But he makes so much music that I was like, there's no way I could fork all this stuff and interact with all this stuff. So I got an idea. I'll do these things where I read books, right? Like Idiot Books is one of my pages, and I'm reading a book and I'm got music in the background, kind of like the blog, but I'm reading a book, right? And I'm reading chapters and chapters out of a book, and I just kept going to that shit because there's so much music. Pick another playlist, you got 2 hours of that shit music, and I would just put that shit in the background like crazy. Mazamat, that shit. There's guys out here that produce tons, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All about the quantity, you know, and I know that's kind of part of his theory. Just put out enough quantity and something will hit eventually.
Right. I'm kind of a quantity guy just because I'm not always doing the lyrics. I'm usually doing the, just the music. So, finalizing the idea, I leave that kind of to the people, you know. If they want to solo in this spot and singing in the rest of the spots, that's up to them. And so I do I probably do 20 instrumentals a month. Sometimes I make 3 hours of music a month. Sometimes I make an hour of music a month. You know.
Yeah. Wow, that's a ton. That's a ton.
Yeah, I made 25 thematic kind of orchestrated songs last month and about 4 or 5 regular tracks, totaling about 4 hours of music just in February.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. No lack of creative process. So, do you find smoking weed makes you more creative or just the same, I like it, or less?
Same. No different. Here was my thing with weed is I'm going to talk about it like I'm an addict because it's addicting. It's a real people will subjugate weed down to like a non-addictive. Oh, it's not addictive, and they'll say all these things, right? And they'll be like, it's like water. You could never get addicted to it. I'm sorry, you can get addicted to weed, just like you can get addicted to caffeine. It's not like you can't quit, like cigarettes, where it's the most difficult thing in the world. But
no, I know a couple people that are so habitual for them. They lean on
yes,
it.
what happens
You're
is
not going to get withdrawal symptoms, but it's going to bother
right. You might not get a withdrawal syndrome, but your mind is going to be like thinking about smoking another one, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't even let myself think about smoking another one. I just kept toking away. And I would just hide away in the back, doing dabs, doing grabs, doing whatever. I would just hide away in the back. And it was copacetic to the music because I hide away to do my music and I hide away to smoke, so I can hide away and do both in one spot and just kind of disappear from my real life. And that was the sad part of it. You know, that was the shitty part of it. The positive part about it was tons of cool music, right? Because I gave myself like an excuse or a reason to be back here. So I kept plugging away at the music because I'm a kind of person who, we talked about it earlier, I have to be productive. I like to be productive. I like to be creating. But if I'm not creating, then I feel like invalid, like I'm not doing anything. I'm literally just sitting back here, just smoking pot all day, doing nothing, like a total loser. No, I'm not. I'm back here smoking pot, making original music and giving it to the world. So I'm like Saint Christopher. What are you talking about? You know? So I kind of used music as an excuse. I don't think I ever really totally formed an excuse that was like, oh, I'm not creative without it, which is good, because when I quit it, I didn't feel like anything was taken away. But I will say, when I quit it, I stopped spending so much time back here, and I spent more time around my family, which, you know, means more arguments. I mean, just kidding. But which means more more interaction with the kids and that kind of stuff. So it's been pretty healthy for me in that sense. More time to eat food, so I've been gaining some weight. Whatever. I used to be like, I had 10 bites. I'm good. I'll go back and smoke some more weed and disappear again. Now I'm like, the whole plate. Can I put more on the plate? Yeah. And I'll just sit there and enjoy the food, you know.
Well, I think it's pretty common. Food becomes the crutch for when you stop cigarette smoking, I hear.
Yep.
And so maybe that's super common, and you'll balance out again.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm getting there. I'm starting to normalize again. I'm feeling like I should exercise instead of have a second plate. No, I could go ride the bike, you know.
Yeah, exercising, bane of my existence.
My wife is on the blog. She says it's more psychological, and it does affect your mood, though. She says it affects your mood. I'm more laid back, and I'm in a better mood. And for instance, she says there's not more arguments. It's just Chris is more irritated over minor things. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if we got similar personalities. It sounds like we do, but I allow if I smoke, it's kind of on the precondition that I give myself permission to have no attention span. I just know that's what's going to happen.
Right.
And so I don't stress myself out about it. During the normal times, if I'm trying to focus on a task and get something done, I'm very time oriented.
Right.
Like I'm looking at, even right now, I'm looking at how long has our interview been. I got to get into programming my lights here pretty soon for my new pieces at 11. But when I smoke, I give myself permission to not, if I don't feel like doing this task anymore because I got distracted by this other thing, I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. And it's I don't know if you have the same thing where I got so many irons in the fire at any one time. Yeah, you could give me, COVID was awesome because you could give me the whole summer off and I do not run out of things to do.
Exactly. That's why COVID wasn't that bad for me. I'm not a big fan of wearing a mask. That's the worst part of COVID for me.
It hurts your ears, man. No, I'm with you.
Before COVID even happened, I would see somebody in a mask, and I'd be like, "You know what? The guy that has the lawn and neighbors? No, mine was always my only person I ever pet peeved on was the guy that wears a mask. I was like, just get me sick. I don't care. I want to see your smile. Why are you wearing a mask? I just didn't get him.
That's I feel like that's weird. But that you are projecting onto somebody else, because the fact that they're wearing a mask, why does that bother you?
Because for some reason I never liked it. It's like a pet peeve, you know? Or
like,
it's like,
I don't like wearing a mask because after a week and 2 weeks, I feel for the healthcare profession, that shit wears on your face. There's got to be better designs out there that don't wear you out.
Right.
But I don't hold it against anybody else if they want to wear a t-shirt with a dumb slogan, saggy pants.
no, I don't care about that either. There's almost nothing I care about except for the masks. For some reason, masks
gotten
had,
under your skin somehow.
it had bugged me since I was 17 years old. I remember being like, 16, 17 years old and seeing a guy wearing a mask in the grocery store, and I was it just rubs me the wrong way. It seemed inhuman.
You've got some kind of trauma that you've got to get hypnotized.
No, I love connecting to people. I love connecting to people. I'm one of those people that most people can't really look each other in the eye for reals when they're having a conversation. And people become intimidated by me because I just do it so intensely. I look at people, I interact with people, I like to hug people, I bump into people and touch people and put my hand on people's shoulders and hug people I've never met.
That's all a no-no in COVID.
And it's all no-nos in COVID. And the mask was felt like something kind of like that. It was like somebody was putting, it's like when they had that mask on, they were saying, you're not going to hug me, you're not going to touch me, we're cut off from each other. Sorry, the mask just said that.
In the last 2 years or a year and a half, however long it's been since I've been wearing a mask when I'm out and about, I'll tell you, I wonder if this is the same for you. I'm healthy as I ever fucking been. I haven't caught a common cold in 18 months. I haven't had a sniffle.
I still get colds. I got little 3-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and 8-year-olds. I still get them.
Yeah.
I'm fun.
Well, shit, I was just talking to somebody this weekend saying we might adopt wearing a mask as just a permanent part of her life in certain situations because she sure has enjoyed her health. And we were talking about countries where it's just commonplace to wear a mask all the time anyway.
Yeah.
And sounds like that is
like
your
China.
worst. Yeah.
But they still invented the disease there.
I don't know enough about that.
I know. No, I'm just saying like it's the place where they wear the masks the most, the disease came from. I'm always thinking about both sides of everything. I'm always trying to think about, it's kind of a devil's advocate thing. I think about it like this, like for instance, it's very smart that we reduce the traffic in the stores by cutting the hours down and making a mandatory mask law. But it's also counterintuitive because if 1,000 people were going to go to Walmart over the course of a 24-hour period, and now it's only open for 18 hours, now there's more people in the store at the same time than there was otherwise.
Yeah,
so there's always there's a reverse side to everything.
So whenever I'm thinking of lyrical topics, I'll jot notes down on concepts that I might want to flesh out and work on later. And one of them is, I think the greatest question that we've always faced is the balance of freedom and safety. I'm trying to put my finger on the crux of the argument that goes on through history, and I think that's it, and I'm still working on what do I have to say about that, what do I think about that, but that is exactly, I feel like that's what's going on. People who want the safety from the disease want everybody to wear a mask and surrender that freedom, just like after 9/11, people wanted safety from terrorists and they gave up freedom of privacy.
Patriot Act came about.
Yeah, and so exactly right.
Some people on one will say that's a sacrifice of freedom, and others will say, well, no, it's an insurance of safety.
Exactly right. And so those are diametrically opposing forces, and how much society embraces the one force or the other, the opposite force has to be surrendered. And I just think it's an interesting thing to think about. I don't know what I have to say about it yet exactly, but that's a song.
Antiphon says this. Better to be touched by you than by no one.
Oh, well, sure. If you, is that a real situation that's going on right now? I mean,
For
That
some,
should be on the poster next to the cat hanging from the branch, saying "Hang in there." You know, definitely can't disagree with that.
you know, my
But
kid, he's 8, and he deals with this in a big way because he is like me. He is super social. He goes up in the park to people without a fear, clicks right in, says, "You want to be my friend?" Right to them directly. "You want to be my friend? Let's be friends. Let's imagine this." And he starts imagining and doing things and playing. That's the kind of way I am. I want to be everyone's friend. In high school, I was. And in life, I try to be. I try to be friends with every person I meet. Deep, connected, interactive. And for my son, he was going to transition from being in the portable to being in general education this year. And he hasn't had his chance. He's going to start general education in 2nd grade. He won't be starting general education until 3rd grade because COVID has kept him separated from his peers that he was already separated from for the first 2 years of school. He was dying to get in there. For him, it's a very emotional. It plays on it plays on his psyche in a way that unlike anything else in my life I can even think about. I have nothing I know about from my history to compare it to talk to my kid and help him understand what's going on. That's the rough part for me. That's the thing that's hard for me to really figure out.
Yeah. No, the individual stories like yours and and my son's actually interestingly, so my son was in one of those programs, I don't want to say gifted program, but where if he had too much time on his hands, he'd get distracted and distract all the other kids, even though he was pulling straight.
That was me as a kid.
So they put him in a different class, and he was okay with that, but at one point he told me, "Dad, all my friends are nerds," and I don't mean this in a super negative way. I was nerdy when I was growing up, but he really wanted that social dynamic, and so the year before COVID, he got back into the general classes like you were talking about,
right? And
his social life exploded, and that, your whole adult life, you're going to be using your social tools to interact with the world that you gained when you were a kid.
And my kids was just supposed to start understanding the average guys, the average kid. He was just going to be given the keys to his first. It's basically, I'll say this: he's in the. I wouldn't say he's in the slow kids class right now, but he had a speech problem. He's really slow to speak, and it's not that he doesn't talk; he does. It's just that he's very distracted in his mind. He's very ADD or whatever it is, and hasn't quite got diagnosed yet. But he's on. He's in that spectrum with that kind of stuff. And for him, this was gonna be his moment where we got to start learning what everyone's like, not just with kids that are struggling, and kind of acclimate and kind of take a step up towards where he normally would have been if he never had these issues, and that's been delayed. This is the thing that crushed me, that really, really crushed me. He had a teacher that was teaching him how to swing on a swing set. He had taught him half of how to swing on a swing set and said, "Next week, I'll teach you the rest of what you need to know to swing on a swing set." And then COVID hit, and he never got to go back and learn the second half of swinging on a swing set. Swinging on a swing set ain't shit.
Now listen to me.
He's going to learn that no matter what. But there's tons of things just like the swing set that have been cut off until they go back.
Yeah.
It's social stuff. Well, it's all kinds of things.
I called it early on. I believe that mankind hasn't come up with a vaccine successfully for anything. I think they're close on polio from what I read, but nothing. You could see the writing on the wall that this was eventually going to turn, most likely outcome is that it was going to, the average life expectancy of an American will go down because the odds you're going to catch this new thing and die in your 70s is higher, and that happened. Life expectancy went down 2 years this year, first time ever that they've been tracking it.
Yeah.
And it's just going to become part of something you need to watch out for when
It's
you're
because they
older.
legalized weed.
And you need to get a vaccination for.
No, you know what I always thought of, you know what, and I always thought about that too, and I was thinking myself, like, you know, I always thought, you know, Bill Gates might have been right, that there's going to be something, and when I saw those virus movies, 90s, 2000s, whenever it was, I always thought, this is gonna be real someday. I saw the zombie movies, and I said, that's an exaggeration, but there's going to be something like this. Now, we have this vaccine. I come from, my mom also did continuing education, and I worked in biomedical, right? I worked in biomedical for years, working on microscopy machines, which are electronic microscopes, right?
Electron microscopy.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I'm familiar.
Yeah, so flow cytometry and image microscopy, computer-based microscopes. High flow rates and analyzing single cells at a time, creating plot graphs that you could go in on each plot and see the actual cells and see the apoptosis or whatever's going on with the cells, right? And so I have this education. I can tell you this much. I'm an outside the box thinker. This is my perspective on the vaccine. And I'm not trying to knock the vaccine. I understand the validity of needing it and all that. But here's the thing with the vaccine. The vaccine, it doesn't stimulate antibodies and an antigen like the old vaccines used to. So the old vaccine you get, let's say you were to get polio, they take a sample of polio from somebody who has it. Polio's going around, it's killing a bunch of kids, it's killing a bunch of old people, it's really scary. It's disabling people, it's causing all kinds of stuff, right? Horrible disease. So they take a scraping of it, they replicate a whole bunch of that disease in an environment, and then they break it down with different things like mercury or fluorescence or formaldehyde or whatever, and they get these different results, and they get this amalgam of broken down diseases that they give to you that helps your body recognize the disease, but at the same time have a little bit of that disease in you, and you fight it. And all of a sudden now, if you were to ever come across that disease, it wouldn't be able to manifest itself inside of you. They blanket that everyone gets this vaccine, and then there's no more polio, and polio was a stable disease. Polio wasn't evolving into polio type B, polio type C. There was just polio and nothing else. So they were able to make a vaccine for it, and they'd wipe it out. Same with measles, right? There's maybe like 2 or 3 kinds of it, right? That's it. These diseases, they can get rid of them. Coronavirus, there's already 5 kinds, and COVID-2 from the 2019 end of the year, there's already like 3 or 4 different versions of that. It's only been a year, right? So they go, okay, we can't fight it by doing antigens and antibodies. It's going to keep evolving. So we have to find something about all these corona diseases that's similar. How about the shape on the outside of the cell? So they take it, they program your body by giving you this vaccine. You take the vaccine, it goes into your body, it uses CRISPR technology to replace little chunks of DNA in the cells that it's applied to. So it won't work on every cell, but certain cells it knows, like white blood cells and other immune system cells, it changes the DNA, and all of a sudden now, if you were to get corona, it would recognize it by the shape on the outside. So boom, no corona. This is the scary part. Let's say corona evolves and evolves and evolves and gets worse and worse and worse, but we keep fighting it off because we have the vaccine and our body recognizes it. But after it gets really, really super aggressive and it would kill you in a day, but it doesn't matter because you can't get it because your body recognizes it from the vaccine, the shape on the outside changes. All it takes is one piece of DNA for the shape on the outside to change to not being a corona, quote unquote, but being something different. Like maybe it's a spiky thing or some kind of different shape. Still latches on, maybe it latches on even better. Now it replicates way faster, spreads in the air, lasts in the air for like a half a year, and now everyone gets it, and when you get it, you basically, your lungs shut down and you die within a week. There's not like a really bad cold. You're going to die. You're going to die when you get this version. It's evolved, but it's evolved while we were mostly immune to it. What if that happens? Now we have no antibodies, no antigens for this disease. We haven't slowly built up to it like we have with the really bad colds and the really bad flus that have been around for 150 years. That's my fear. I'm always thinking outside the box. I'm always thinking on the other side of the coin. What happens if this vaccine is the worst move? That's just a sort of paranoia that I have, you know?
Oh, right. Well, that was a lot of foundation laid out to come to that I think, you know, I'm an avid reader, but I don't, not being a scientist and directly involved. My understanding is we actually haven't eradicated anything, ever, including polio, measles, smallpox, never been eradicated. And every person that has that disease is a functional petri dish in which a mutation might happen. So when the total pool of people that have it is small, the amount of mutations are small because you're controlling. And that's the problem. My understanding, I don't know what I read.
But that's what I'm saying is that's why they're going to have to make it mandatory. They're going to have to make it mandatory, right?
Otherwise, 500 million people are mutating different strains, and the mutations start outpacing your ability to keep up with it. In theory, I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
So there's two roads. Blanket immunity, where almost all of us, 99% of us, are taking this vaccine. And it's a blanket immunity, and it's very, very rare, and it's eradicated with quotes from being a pandemic. Or we don't, and then it could just get worse. What are we going to do? It's that same question, a balance of what's freedom and what's safety.
Oh, right. Well, as far as what I would do as an individual and what the world should do, I'm not going to pretend to understand the stresses of being a politician. And I mean, you look at Inslee. So many people hate Inslee, you know, but I believe that he's doing what he thinks the majority wants him to do. Yeah, that's about it. I don't think that that's verified by the margin of his victory. Whether or not what your personal feelings are, I'm just glad I don't have to decide for the 51% and have the 49% tell me I'm an asshole and hate me.
I hate Inslee, but it has nothing to do with the disease. It was long before the disease. It has to do with Boeing stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And well, I know if I met the guy, I'd shake his hand, but I mean, whatever.
Well, the thing that bothers me most about what's going on right now is just the lack of live music. I went to my first live show actually last weekend. Because the venues are allowed to have live music, but at 25% capacity, they can't make a buck. It's just not worth it. But some of the outdoor venues are starting to open up now. I went and saw my first movie in the movie theater yesterday.
Sweet.
So I feel like things are starting to return to normal, and hopefully we get there sooner, because it's crushing me. As you said earlier when you were playing music in Seattle, the thing that changed the way I approach music dramatically is making the decision 2 years ago that music needs to pay for itself. No longer am I taking my money I make at, you know, as you said, like you're making pennies at, you didn't say McDonald's, I forget where you said you...
Walgreens or
Walgreens, yeah. No longer am I going to try to fund music. Music has to pay for itself. Strings, gears, chords, speakers, guitars, gas money, it's got to pay for itself.
Yeah.
And I gave it a lifeline of $1,000 from my bank account to be paid back, and I started treating it as its own business.
Yeah.
And that changed everything. That has opened my eyes to the things you need to do in order to actually make money. And as you know, you can be really great at building widgets, but operating a business that sells widgets is a totally different animal and has nothing to do with making widgets.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. A lot of people might ask, how do you get followers, or how do you sell T-shirts, or how do you get all these gigs? When I say the business sense, as you say, you're well aware of, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Does your music, can it stand on its own 2 feet? And not to switch gears totally on you.
No, all good.
I gotta run it out here in the next 10 minutes just to give you a heads up.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? For me, I started thinking of it like this. I used to always think of the business side of it, and I thought the creativity that I did, it didn't matter. The music, it didn't matter. I'll do whatever I want in the music, and the business sense will either keep it afloat or it won't. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna be running it to fund itself. That's how I started. I started with trying to find a way to make it like a business, like a startup, where. Because my mom was doing jazzercise, and she for a long time said, I'm not going to keep doing this jazzercise if it doesn't pay for itself. Because she's a jazzercise instructor, right? She's like, I'm not going to keep doing this if it doesn't pay for itself. I can't keep paying to be an instructor. But eventually, at some point, my mom realized that she loves jazzercising so much, and she loves being up in front of those people and the connections and the social side of it, that she doesn't care if it costs her just a little bit more than it did to regular jazzercise just to be a teacher. And
I think that's a goal set that you got to understand about yourself. And most musicians, ironically, will say, well, I'm just doing it for myself.
I'm doing it for myself. I finally realized I make all this music for me to listen to. If other people want to listen to it, that's cool. I go up on that stage for my good time. If other people have a good time, so be it. But I'm not going on that stage to entertain you. I'm going on that stage to entertain me. As weird as it sounds, and I always think of it like this: I'll become a cult classic if enough people like me. But otherwise, I'll just stay underground forever. I could become famous. I could sit there and I could do my best every day to write the song that's going to make me famous and to do the things that will make me famous and make me money. And I could sit there every day and sacrifice one idea for the idea that will work better for making money. But if I did that, I would not have the song that I want to listen to. I would have the song that they want to listen to. And I want to die listening to my songs that are my favorite that I made, not listening to the songs that were their favorite that they wanted me to make. So I said, fuck it, fuck the money, fuck everything about music. It will come if it comes. I'm just going to make the songs I want to make. Everything else is irregardless to my purpose.
But there's a seed of truth in what you're saying, but there's also the falsehood, man. You can't stand on a platform and say it's one or the other. I'm going to make the music that I make. It doesn't have to do with what people want at all. There is middle ground in there, and I don't want anybody that's listening or anything to think, oh, if I make the music I want to make, there's no path to being successful and having an audience, because that's not the case.
Yeah, and also if you make there's four sides of this. Everything has four ways of thinking of it. So this is my theory on cognitive and reasoning. There's always four ways. It's like you draw, it's kind of like that thing you use for figuring out what genome is passed, or how things are mating, or how things are breeding together. You got big A, little a, in two different columns on top, and on the side you have two different columns, and it's big B and little b. And so you have big A, big B, little a, then you have big A and little b, and you have the little a and the big B. So what I'm saying here is big A and big B is you can only make music that is your creative desire, and you don't care about the money. And then little a and little b is you only make music that they care about, and it's all about trying to make money. But then there's those big A and little b combinations, and the big B and little a combinations, where there's this nuances in between there. It doesn't have to be those extremes. You could be making music that you like, that has just been kind of teased into the direction that would make money, so you can still love your music and you can still make money with it. And you can also make music that is, so what I'm saying is there is that balance. It doesn't have to be these extremes where you sacrifice your art to make money, or you sacrifice the money to make art. You can make art that you love, that appeals to you and others, and makes money. You can do both. It's just finding that balance, working that balance, feathering those things together. You know, not, I don't know how to describe it for each person. Everyone's different, but you have to find ways to kind of to make it worth it, if that makes sense. And everyone's going to have different things that make it worth it. For some guy, it's having someone stand up and go, woo, at the end of a song. And that's what makes it worth it. For another guy, it's getting $100 a month. You know?
I mean, for me, I think that a lot of the business sense and what makes the guy stand up and go woo at the end actually has less to do with the music and your efforts over a period of time to transcend through the music being a portal to you. And I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake. Well, if I'm going to sell out, so to speak, give the people what they want, I need to have this cool imagery. I need to look like a cool person. And I've made that mistake in my past, and I see a lot of people making that mistake, not being a down-to-earth, honest person.
Right.
That the music is a portal through. And shockingly, a lot of people need the wake-up call. Guess what? It's only 50% about your music. Your music is an access way for people to get to know you. And your job is to show who you are and be larger than the music. If you're bigger than the music, then you can strike out at the plate lots of times. But if people like you and they feel like they know you, they're going to be your fan and just they're going to be behind you as you
here's a perspective on it. So check this out. I make most of the instrumentals. I make the music so other people can try and find a lyric, right? You had this thing you said on your page as one of your most recent tips, your 2 cents, your tips, or whatever you want to call them, where you said you can't really write a song if you don't have any the lyrics to a song. You're going to get stalemated, or you're not going to have that connection that's needed. You're going to get writer's block or whatever it is, if you don't pick a subject that you're passionate about. And if you want to pick a subject that's cool, fine. But if you're not passionate about it, you won't create that connection that draws those people in, that gets that guy to stand up and go, woo, right? But at the same time, no matter how great your lyrics are, if there's no passion in the music to carry them, so it's all intertwined. It's like I said, it's like this feathering of these parts together to get the right feel. You know, these hit songs, these guys didn't sit down and go, do you know what? If I do this and I do this and I do this and this, part A, B, C, D, E, E, and F, I'm going to have a hit song from this. Fuck no, they didn't sit down and do that when they wrote the song. They sat down and wrote that song because they wanted to say something. They had something they had to say about something, whether it's my baby left me, or it's signs everywhere there's signs. They had something they wanted to say. I love that song too. I'll sing that song.
Essay, every time. It's a persuasive essay, absolutely.
Right.
And not to make it too sound like work, but it is work. Yeah, I guess a lot of people missed out on, in order to be successful, you need to be genuine. You need to let down your barriers and let people see you. The most viral videos on YouTube are always the guy that doesn't look like he should be a dancer dancing his fucking heart out.
Right.
And and why? Is it because it's a fit athletic model doing it? Although that gets views too as well. But no, it's because it touches a nerve. Everybody wants to let their wall down and be themselves.
You can't stop watching it because it draws you in. You can't turn that off.
Watching somebody being brave enough to let their wall down and express themselves is entertaining. That's what's at the heart of it, because you relate to it. And that's what you have to do as an artist. And when you do it and people connect to you, that connection, you create that emotional spark they're your fan forever.
Right.
If you're just packaging up a good story, there's limited success you can find, but not rewarding success that's going to make you happy.
Right. It's very true.
Anyway, hey, I appreciate you inviting me to talk with you for the whole time.
Yeah, that was a blast. I'm sure we got plenty to talk about. If we're ever both in Seattle, we should get together. I mean, I would love to be honest, I'd love to meet up with you sometime and just play drums while you do your thing.
I love noodling around.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Could spend an afternoon doing that.
Yeah.
I got lots on my plate today, exactly. It's the weekend, so I'm going to be hitting music hard, and I'm rearranging my live show, planning on being able to play here any minute and incorporating some of the new stuff that's on BandLab into my live set. And then not only do I got to rehearse that and make sure I can play it flawlessly, I make sure I am entertaining when I'm on the stage as well. So I like to record myself, watch what annoying habits I have, and try to avoid that. And then I program all my own lights, and I actually use Cakewalk and a DMX interface from Cakewalk when I'm playing live. Yeah. And it triggers the backing tracks and triggers all the light cues and everything. But anyway, I got lots of work to do today, and I'm going to get after it.
Hey, man, when you do you do live? You're talking about live on a stage, not live like YouTube live, right?
Live on a stage, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was playing 30, 40 times a year just right before COVID, and starting to land my first good festival bookings. And my cash flow was positive. My contacts were
I'll tell you what, of all the bands I played in, there was a reggae band I played in, and they never paid me because all the money went to the band account, right? They never paid me a dime, but this band would get like $1,000 a gig. Of all the bands I played in, the reggae band made the most money. I didn't see a dime of it because they all saved it. I mean, they bought me a cymbal, you know.
Well, you're going to get invited to play at the party environment, you know.
I've done that. I've done the parties. I've done it all. It's always a blast. I love it.
When you're a heavy metal or a rock band, it's you're going to be invited to different scenes. Yep. And I love all kinds of different genres. I've just nestled into this reggae lately because I love my writing routine and my recording routine and my live scenes when I'm out there, just to be, positive vibes and good times. And
it's just like fishing. It's just like fishing a different lake. You're going to catch different fish, you know.
They asked Dee Snider, "How come Twisted Sister hasn't made an album in so long?" And he said, "It's hard to be full of banks when I'm sitting next to my pool in my $1 million mansion." Although I love all styles, I'm choosing where I like to live, I guess.
Well, all right. Well, I'll let you go. Funny enough, we did talk about John Mitchell being one of my #1 lifetime fans, and he's here on the blog today, chirping in. So he said, emotional spark equals fan forever. He had to agree with your point there. Do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody?
Oh man, I'm so bad at shout outs. But
like maybe your wife. John. Maybe you got to give a shout out to your wife because she supports you.
Oh, I appreciate the heads up there. Because I'm bad at this stuff, and I'm always willing to learn. And you're exactly right. My wife is my biggest fan, and sometimes she's my swag girl at the gig.
Yeah, nice.
She keeps me really balanced. She lets me know when I'm going a little overboard, and I've booked 3 shows a week for the next 6 weeks. She's where's the family time? Yep. And she encourages me, get the fuck out of the house. Go out with your guy friends and do something.
Go see a live show. That will spark your next month of writing. Yeah, something about that.
He's been a just truly amazing friend and a wife. And I couldn't ask for anything more for somebody who's just the perfect balance that encourages me to keep driving, but then also keeps me in check. And Julianne, if she's dialing in or
that's funny. We both have wives named Julianne.
Yeah. Good one.
Yep. We knew how to pick them. All right, dude. I'll catch you later.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Well, you guys, that was a nice little chat with Jeremy Abbott there, local to my area, lives just up north. And, we talked about all kinds of things, It's kind of what happens on the Idiot Chat, you go down that road of whatever conversations bring, So, yeah, that was a fun time. I definitely could do that a whole second time with that guy, because it seems like we have plenty to talk about, when it comes to making music, when it comes to performing and all that. And just general world views. Quite a fun little conversation I had there. So appreciate you for coming on, Jeremy. That was awesome. Current song is Bringing the Walls Down, Final Cut. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. It was an early show. We don't do that very often, but I figured, hey, why not? That has a little grunge feel to it. Jam. Jeremy Abbott Music. This guy's got a great voice. If you haven't noticed in the background, his voice, killer. All right, guys, we'll call that the blog. It was a great time. I'll catch you guys all on the flip side, and we'll let this song take us out for the night. EO on the morning. And I'll get back to smoking that meat. Probably got to throw some logs on there, and I'm gonna call my kids when I'm done with the blog, because they're over in Texas hanging out. I gotta say hello to them and do that dad thing. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, yeah, yeah. All I need now is to face my foe. Can I admit to myself? All right, dudes. Like I said, catch you on the flip side. Keep making that music, and I'll see you on the next blog tomorrow.